Hello and welcome to Arturelia Behind the Scenes on what went down between entertainment content and original content. In this video we're going to be discussing my first original show on Arturelia, and that is He Said, She Said. This was something I wanted to do with my grandparents for a while, and well, there's already been 2 seasons of this. Anyways, let's get on to it, shall we? So in 2017, this was already something I wanted to work on, but alongside this was the toy war that I was also working on at the same time. The first episode was already filmed and being worked on within a few months before filming the first episode of He Said, She Said. But if I wanted to get out something original, it had to be something simple. So obviously there was He Said, She Said. The first episode I scripted out was simple, asking both my grandparents separately a question about each other. The first episode was filmed on June 27th, 2017. From then on out, that's when He Said, She Said it was born. Within a few days after that, I filmed He Said, She Said episode 2. In July, the trailer was up on YouTube. Within days after, the first episode aired, and thus began the show on YouTube. The show itself is, yes, what I mentioned, it's about 2 grandparents who tell their story of each other in front of the camera. One has a different perspective than the other, and it's hard to tell who is really telling the truth. This was actually the first original comedy show that I made, brought to you by, yes, Arturelia Studio. However though, let's also dive into what went behind the scenes. Before shooting He Said, She Said, there was plans to do it the same year, but wasn't certain of when to actually shoot the episode. Throughout the years of 2014 through 17, my grandparents were pretty hilarious in my eyes. Heck, even going way back to 2010, up to 2011 when we were still doing homeschooling. But in 2014 through 2017, I recorded a lot of audio of my granddad while we were having class. Points that made me laugh, and my grandmother added the humor to it, which some of these recordings made it at the end of each episode, and also some of my reviews, and one Let's Play video. The trailer went up on July 17th, then the first episode aired on the 22nd. However, I wanted to make this a weekend show every Saturday, so the race was on to continue to make more episodes, and quickly. Episode 2 was filmed sometime in early July, but since it was pretty long, I split it into 2 episodes, which gave me more content. The next 2 episodes, my uncle, their son, was down with his children, which for a twist asked him to read the lines to them. And we found out even more darker stuff that occurred. Though after filming the second episode, which became 2 episodes, my granddad was thinking not to do much afterwards, just because people would probably get tired of it. Which in this case I would agree, but I wanted to make a few more episodes before the end. So I didn't really want to stop just yet. I wanted to go up until possibly episode 7, if so. Things did work out and we still were able to film my grandparents. Though the reason for my granddad not really wanting to do much was just because he was also hurting.
What do you call that? That's a blister. That's a blister.
I mean,
that's a blister.
That's
a blister.
One load of malt.
There's a blister right there.
You,
There's proof of the pudding. Blisters.
After episode 6, I wasn't sure if there would be one more episode, as it was left with a crazy He Said, She Said dispute. There was a long hiatus between episode 6 and episode 7 of the show. Episode 7 wouldn't come out until February of 2018. I wanted people to vote on the side they picked for who they believed was telling the truth of the show. However, by November of 2017, I got a job at Cinemark, and within finding out my working hours, my grandmother was diagnosed with colon cancer. It was a big hit in the family. By the end of 2017, it was bad news after bad news, with losing 2 of my grandparents in Mexico within a span of time, from the end of 2017 and early 2018. So this affected me, especially with my grandmother as well. My grandmother was going to do treatment, and I was at some point in early 2018 working on the final episode of He Said, She Said for season 1, which did come out. After the conclusion of season 1, it wouldn't be till several months after that I wanted to make a season 2, but with more of a thriller mystery. taking a different take on the show. The inspiration actually came from the BuzzFeed show Unsolved Mysteries. I will say this is when things get a little foggy. I did film the episodes in 2018 during my grandmother's chemo treatments, which you will see in some of the interviews. But I don't remember when I decided to make it into a mystery type show. But like I said, it was more of an inspiration from BuzzFeed Unsolved. I decided to bring it for one more round, as there was still more hilariousness with my grandparents. And yes, that's when I got the iconic music from the BuzzFeed Unsolved show, which I would use in my show just to be funny. The trailer for He Said, She Said was released August 2019. The title would be called He Said, She Said, Evidence and Confessions. The first episode would be released September 24th of 2019, and the number would be episode 0. The reason? I don't know, just want to do something different. This time, besides the first season, the episodes would actually premiere live on YouTube. And yes, like the first season, the second season required me to work fast to release the episodes every weekend. Now, what went behind the scenes of filming, yeah, I would have to schedule a certain day to do it whenever I wasn't working at my job. Only the weekdays or certain days I had off to film my granddad's side and my grandmother's side. Most of the pictures you see in both seasons were taken during those days of recording my granddad when we were doing homeschooling, but also other points in time, which also appeared in some of the reviews as well. The biggest change that my granddad wanted to do was in episode 3. I was not expecting what he did, though I won't say it here. And this time, I interviewed my mom for the evidence I was seeking. On top of that, the last 2 episodes took a different approach besides the mystery. I wanted to change it up. After the show had concluded, I realized that there were still unused footages. So in December, I released a special episode, showing more of their craziness. That was truly the final episode. You would notice that there was a little bit of a tiny rush with that episode. By this point, I was ready to move on to other projects, like working on mostly the Toy War and a vampire story. There were other things though that never saw the light. Like mentioned, some footages that were never used, but it was mostly pictures. The reason is that I forgot to use them when editing and at least showing pictures of the evidence. Even now, I wish I had used most of what I gathered. It would have lasted maybe another round, but like I said, I was busy with other projects, alongside other stuff as well. To me, I think it was about time to end the show anyway, and move on to other works. So in the end, this probably led to most of the stuff not being used in future episodes. He Said, She Said was a fun ride. Simple, and yeah, being filmed within several months and days. I had a fun time with my grandparents doing these episodes. This was the first original, like I said, Arturelia Studio show to come out before the Toy War, or any others. So I do give credit to this one. But the show is really more of a family thing for our enjoyment.
When I
I'm
dry
gonna
my
put it
hair.
in there so it looks right.
Did you also know, if you could tell, obviously there was certain changes to camera quality. Some being filmed on phone because of the moment, others being staged with better equipment, like my Sony camera. And then on top of that, there was the GoPro that I was trying out. So yeah, you will see different changes of camera quality. Also, another thing that never came to fruition was something that my granddad suggested. That my granddad would play as a judge, and every time my grandmother would say something, he would question her. Well, I hope you enjoyed this behind the scene of He Said, She Said, the very first show that I brought to the channel. If you would like to see more original content, just check my channel out, Arturelia Studio. Though, if you're more of someone that likes entertainment stuff instead of original content, I have that as well. Arturelia Entertainment Content. Brought to you by, yes, Arturelia.